I've spent over 100 hours in the Once Human beta. It's something that I tend not to do. I don't really invest a lot of time into betas very heavily, let alone over 100 hours of play, with probably a lot more to clock before this thing ends in January, mid-January. I think at the time this video is being made, it's been put in a closed beta. The servers have been kind of hit by a huge wave of players interested in the game. Definitely a side effect of the day before's riddled history, rise and demise, and lies. So here we are. We're in Once Human. This game starts off very weird.
Our lives have followed a long path. But eventually, all roads reach their end.
Still each breath.
Our world is broken, stagnant, fallen into the abyss. But everything is born from darkness, even the universe itself. Now, do you see it? A glimmer within the void. The spark of life still burns, and evolution forges a new way forward.
So once you make your way through this very bizarre tutorial, you're introduced to your Cradle, a bird that talks to you.
It gave Rosetta access to rifts.
You're introduced to a little girl with a blindfold on.
You was once a regular human.
It takes you to a house, walks you through a few first steps, and then you kill a big old thing, and then you drop from the sky. My initial reaction isn't too far off from what most people felt the first time they jumped into this game, which is, what the fuck is happening? There's a lot of different moving parts to this bad boy. But after that, it sort of takes a shape of your pretty standard survival craft game. You hit trees, you hit rocks, you make a base, you make a little box out of it depending on your style. That's usually the first go-to. Then you make crafting benches, weapons, armor, and it sets you off on a journey through the world to find out what the hell happened in Once Human. And after 100 hours, I'm still a little bit confused on it, but I'm having a blast. When I jumped into this game, I didn't expect much. I thought it was going to be your typical Rust, PvP focused, raid bases, kind of survival craft game, maybe along the lines of like a DayZ plus Rust. And I couldn't have been more wrong. It has a very heavy focus on PvE combat. Although my biggest pain point currently with the game is that the enemy AI outside of like dungeons, raids, and any sort of instance combat tends to be a little dumb. But I'm told that that should be improved by launch because the AI is something that they'll dial in once all the base systems are built, because I guess AI has to interact with all the different systems in the game, but I digress. This game is a lot. There's a lot of moving parts here. So we're going to try to dig into a bit of it and explain to you exactly what Once Human's all about. So we're going to talk about loot. Loot is broken up into a few categories. Mainly, you're going to be looking for blueprints. At the time of the beta, blueprints are either coming from a random wish machine, which use a currency that has been said will not be a microtransaction currency. You get it through in-game challenges and by refining items in-game into Starkrum, which is your currency for using the wish machine. You could get blueprints from there. You also get blueprints from taking down strongholds, which are large POIs inside the world, send you off to do some tasks, open boxes, killing enemies, killing elites, killing mini-bosses, things like that. And these blueprint fragments allow you to unlock various pieces of armor, various pieces of weapon sets, and they all have a set to them. So then, on top of unlocking blueprints, you also upgrade blueprints to higher qualities. And as you're crafting through the world, you can make any blueprint at any of the tiers in the game as long as you have access to the materials. So at the time of the beta, it is tier 1 through 5. with increasing strength through 1 through 5. Then we're going to have mods. Mods are your RNG drops. Mods will have their own intrinsic properties, which will get better as you go from white mods to legendary mods. And then on top of that, they're going to have randomized attributes, which are complete RNG. And on top of that, you could break down mods and then spend the points from that into re-rolling a single category of your mod. So it ends up snowballing and getting pretty complex pretty quickly. You're looking at your intrinsic perks on each weapon and armor. Then on top of that, you're going to have accessories onto weapons, which are found by doing world challenges. And then you have your mod system, which is going to let you fine-tune your build even further. Based on your own intrinsic perks on the weapons and armor that you're using, you're going to want to focus on different attributes on your mods. So if you're running a flamethrower, you're going to want to look for an armor set that might have intrinsic perks giving you plus burn damage. And then you're going to want to look for random attributes on mods that might have bonus to burn damage, and then find mods that have even more random attributes that'll give you more burn damage. I'm keen on shrapnel with my AR and my SFG, so that's the build I've been going. But I've seen a lot of builds really be very useful. You do have to spec pretty specifically into what you're trying to do, but you can make some pretty interesting builds work. Anything from elemental damage, explosion damage, kinetic damage, shrapnel, shotguns, SMGs, ARs, LMGs, crossbows, pistols, the whole nine. There's so much gear to play with in this game. And the gear game is way deeper than any survival craft game I've played. It feels more akin to something like Division or maybe even Borderlands. And it feels real good. Big surprise. Definitely an addicting loop when it comes to fine-tuning your build. On top of gear, you also have a pretty complex skill tree, which you'll get points for as you progress through levels, different challenges, find boxes in the worlds to unlock, ciphers, and use the in-game currency, which is called energy, but it's really just like, you might as well just call it gold, because energy would suggest that it's kind of a stamina system, a la gacha. It's not that. It's not a stamina system. You get energy for doing everything in the game, everything from bounties, side quests, main quests. You find them in boxes. You find them off of elites. It's currency. It might as well be gold, but they call it energy. So you're going to spend your energy and your memetics, mean points, ciphers, whatever they want to call them. Really kind of rotates throughout the game. To learn different crafting recipes in your tree. Anything from building, crafting, creating defenses, cooking, and even fishing. Yep, there's fishing. On top of the memetics tree, you also have your cradle. And this is where things get even more interesting. It looks like once human is going to be running into seasons. Those specifics on how those are going to run and how those are going to differ between season and season. If there will be wipes or anything like that, you would assume, with some meta progress for your account. That's my assumption. I'll be looking for clarification. But outside of your memetics, you're also looking at a cradle. As you go through the world currently and do challenges, whether it be kill bosses or do mini dungeons, which are more comparable, I would say like the first 4 dungeons are more comparable to the length of like a Lost Sector in Destiny, but with a boss at the end, and usually two different wings to go and get loot out of the dungeon. So as you kill bosses and do these dungeons, you'll unlock slots inside a seasonal cradle artifact, and then there's varying perks that unlock as you go along too, and do certain challenges as well. And then you can further outfit and fine-tune your spec, your character attributes, what you want to be focusing on through your cradle, and you can re-roll it and you can respec it at any time. So there's a lot of customization there. Just like weapons, anything from like kinetic damage, elemental damage, shrapnel, all the various perks that are available this season could be spec'd to inside the cradle. Seasons are also further outlined in kind of a tucked away menu. It'll show that deviations appear like they could be seasonal. So you can see rotated perks, different bonuses from deviations. Deviations being a whole different system, kind of like a Tamagotchi situation, where you kill a boss, you suck its soul into your cradle, you put it in a box, you find out what it likes. Maybe it likes green light. I don't know. Maybe it likes the sound of a low hum of a machine or a power generator. It's weird, but it works. Just like all the little systems in the game that feel borrowed from other games, or, you know, kind of shoved in other MMOs really makes sense inside of Once Human. It has so many different systems in it, but they all feed into each other. Almost every system feeds into every system. It's wild. I've played other MMOs where it's just riddled with systems, riddled with tertiary, secondary, whatever, tangents, and they're kind of just like there. They don't make entire sense to you, but they're there, they're side progress, go do it. And Once Human, they all make sense, at least to me. The main purpose of this current beta that they're doing right now, December, January, 2023 into 24, depending on when you watch this video, is they're testing the seasonal system and progressing through seasons. So when a server opens, it'll be on phase 1. It'll last a few days. Only a few zones will be open, usually like the first zone. A few days passes. I don't know how it'll work once launch comes out, but maybe the phases will last a little bit longer, maybe a bit more involved. But areas are locked. The map is locked. And you start with a certain area, certain bosses, certain quests. And as time progresses, the server will unlock more areas, more bosses, more dungeons, more content, more areas for your hive or your warband to go in, get materials, upgrade your base, upgrade your characters, further along in the game, get quests done. And it also gives players who are joining those servers a chance to play a little catch up. And it's pretty nice. Things will change as well in the world. You'll see anything from like different world events. You'll see a sky whale. There's this whale that flies around and drops materials for players to take back to your base. It's great. I feel like they've thought about everything. PvP. This is the big one. This is a big question for people. Is there PvP? How does it work? Is it fun? Does combat feel good? I got into a few scuffles in the beta. Won some, lost some. In open world PvP right now, you have to manually flag. It's not a free flag PvP game. At least on a safe server, I'm told that every region will have 2 pure PvP servers each. Each server houses up to, I think it's 6,000 people, somewhere around that lines. 3,000? I don't know. It's several thousand people, and each server has several worlds in it, which are kind of like alternate, like layers. Like this, you're in the same world, but not. You can freely travel between worlds on the same server, no problem. Your base will exist in one singular world. Anyways, I digress. PvP. There are zones dedicated to PvP. These are for warbands, which are essentially guilds, to go in, control the territory, and mine for resources. They have to collect the resources. They have to defend their resources. Other warbands can come along and bid to declare war on the territory, potentially take it from your warband. These areas, the PvP is always on. You step foot inside the bubble, you're PvP flagged, you're choosing to be in combat. The people who own the territory can build turrets, a base, all sorts of armaments in order to protect their boon. If you're an attacker and there's no armaments, no defenses, you can walk in and you can rob these fuckers blind. And it feels real good. This is, again, something you opt into. Open world PvP outside of these zones that put you in a chaos mode is a little different. If you choose to PvP in open world, currently, you drop 1 piece of gear upon death. The person that takes that gear, it's theirs now. Until it breaks. They can't repair it, so the item is temporary on them, but you do lose your stuff. I personally feel like on a PvP server, dropping your gear, totally fine. One piece of feedback for the devs is on safe servers, the more PvE-focused servers, I would prefer that you don't drop gear. I think that's going to drive players away. That's a big piece of feedback. For the PvP players out there, they probably love that. That's high risk, high reward. And putting that on a PvP server makes total sense. Open world PvP with high risk, high reward makes a ton of sense. Especially since you have to PvP in order to refine materials into fuel and acid at refineries that are scattered around the world. It puts you into a chaos state. You're at risk. There's enemies that show up. Other players could come steal your stuff. So if you're choosing to do that, you put yourself at risk. Still very fun. Other PvP events is the Sky Whale will drop these shards from the sky that you have to take back to your base and refine. As soon as you pick up the item, you're flagged for PvP. It's high value. It refines into Starcrum, which allows you to roll for more blueprints. So PvP is very fun. The hit registration feels very similar to like the Division. I liked it a lot. The encounters that I got into were super fun. I would personally love to see some sort of like queued PvP situation where you could go in and do like low stakes deathmatch or capture the flag or something. Because this game does have like a vehicular system as well, which feels really good. The controls feel good. The vehicles feel good. There's everything from like motorcycles, trucks, coupes, and there's like a giant hive truck that you can turn into like a moving base, which is pretty neat. Base building. I mean, if it's a survival craft game, you got to have base building. You can do anything from your sterile box that's functional to your mega mansion that's very cozy. You have everything from different materials to work with, wallpapers, which are free to apply, roofing materials, refining materials, benches, furniture, beds. What else? There's a whole system with water purification. There's a whole intense cooking system. There's an electrical system as well. I would love to be able to hide wires and pipes, by the way, because they're kind of an eyesore for a beautiful build. There's just a lot going on in base building. It's all done pretty dang well. There's a few things I'd like to see changed about it. Snapping's kind of wonky. But again, it's a beta. It's pretty early. And they have a lot of time to refine it. I can see people doing some really creative builds, not only for like really pretty cool bases, but also for more tactical combat bases. Because like I said, you have to take materials back to either your personal base or your hive base. Your hive being your 4-person permanent team. And you refine them there. Players can attack you. Enemies attack you. So you have to fortify it. So there's a few different ways that you can approach making a base. But altogether, it works really well. It feeds into the game. You're going to find yourself coming back to your base of operations a lot. As you get further in, the fast travel from your base doesn't feel too expensive. It uses energy. And you get a free fast travel back to your base every 15 minutes. So the system feels really good. And it all just works. Bosses. This game's got bosses. And they're pretty dang good. I would compare them to feeling like a Division fight plus Remnant to a degree. You could do bosses anywhere from single player, solo, or up to 4 players. The bosses do scale on the number of players you have in your group along with dungeons. But bosses are a blast. Some of them can use a little quality of life touch, but this bad boy's in beta now, so hopefully we see them get some improvements going on. And outside of the base level difficulty of bosses, you also have hard mode bosses, which can be soloed. It seems like all content is designed, at least most of the PvE content, is designed to be able to be done solo. The raid itself, the LEA raid that's in the beta right now, is pretty challenging. The first boss feels really good. You could do it solo if you want to farm materials. It lets you go in, kill the boss, spend items that you get from doing dailies and bounties to unlock better rewards, which is also grindable, by the way. And then you could do that to upgrade your gear. It's fantastic. It's a great system. It works. We'll see if it comes out close to that at launch. But it seems like they're giving players a lot of freedom of not only like bossing activities, dungeon activities, raid-like activities, but they're also letting you grind it. There's not a lot of stopgaps. There's not a lot of time gating. It just lets you do it. Microtransactions. We got to talk about MTX. So in-game right now, there's no digital currency. There's no microtransaction currency. You can't purchase anything. It's a beta. Everything's based off of Starcrum. I have been told, there's a few different sources coming from this. The devs themselves have said absolutely no pay to win, no pay to speed up, no pay for anything, no fast tracking, nothing like that. They're actually kind of against even doing battle passes throughout the season, which I don't even think is that predatory. Coming from a company that is published by NetEase, which is kind of if you're in the West, you hear NetEase and you kind of, I don't know, man. But they're pretty insistent. It's come down the grapevine that they even went as far as to say that for them to put pay to win MTX in the game, NetEase would have to buy them out and fire everybody or off everybody. That's what I heard. That is what I've heard. But every dev that I've spoken to, everybody involved with Starry, has insisted no pay to win. Obviously, that's something you need to watch. It's something we need to watch. It's something we need to be honest about. If things end up in like the next beta or early access that looks like it's inching towards it, We got to be honest. We got to be loud. But where it is right now, there's none of that. They're touting that there's none of that. I hope they're being honest. I want to believe they are, because I would rather hope than nope. But obviously it's something that everybody should pay attention to, because that's going to be a big pain point if any pay-to-win stuff makes it in the game. Where it is now, I don't believe it will. I hope that's the case at launch. So, good luck to you, Starry, on battling Netties, on anything they might want you to put in there. But you got a winner on your hand already, so don't muddy the water. This game went from something that wasn't even on my radar to being probably my most anticipated game of 2024. I was looking forward to the day before, as were so many people. I was hoping that was going to be one of my next things. Once Human came along out of nowhere for me, full disclosure, they sponsored the first stream I did. They hit me up after the day before, came out and flopped, and they were like, do you want to check this out? I said, sure. So we did a sponsored stream for them. I have played it on stream 100 hours since. They have not sponsored me to play 100 hours. This happens so rarely. There's obviously things that need to be worked on. Enemy AI, fine-tuning the world, more quality of life inside of points of interest to give them more life and more interest, side quests, things like that. Fine-tuning the systems, taking player feedback, making things work better than they do, but the existing systems already work really well. If they release this as an early access game right now, it would be better than the vast majority of survival craft games that are early access. It would be better than the vast majority of cozy house crafting games. It would be better than the vast majority of MTX riddled MMOs that are on the market on Steam. It's that good. I personally hope that the devs take their time with this one. It's currently slotted for a Q3 2024 release, which is somewhere after the summer. Next year, this year, depending on when you watch. I think they've gotten a lot of attention for this beta. And if I had to say, I would anticipate that they would do an early access, maybe in Q2. But I don't want them to rush it. I mean, it came out of nowhere for me, and it's kind of blown my mind. It's all I want to play right now. There's certain things that need to be reworked. I do think the tutorial needs to be reworked. It's pretty weird and does no justice to the game. But everything that's there is pretty great. I can't recommend it enough. If you can get a code, hop in. At the time of this video, you have to sign up for codes to get from Starry Studio. They've been giving away a lot around Christmas in order to jump in. They got a lot more attention on this than they anticipated. I think at this point, they've gotten like 20 times the interest that they anticipated. And I couldn't be happier for them. They're getting a lot of great feedback on this thing. There's so many systems. There's so many complex systems that really work across the board. I'm loving this game. I have so much more good to say than bad. Everything bad is minor. I can't wait for this thing to come out. Q3 can't come soon enough. I didn't even know this existed. And now we are like 2.5, 3 weeks after I started playing, and I'm still obsessed. And I can see where they're going. I can see that how it'll work in seasons will remain interesting. I can see how the wars are going to be a lot of fun. The pieces are there. The interest is absolutely there. They have all the momentum they need. Then I hope they do it. For the love of God, man. When this beta ends, I feel like there's going to be a hole in my soul that can only be filled by one's human. If you get a chance to check it out, definitely check it out. If you get a code, check it out. Definitely support these devs. Give them their feedback. They've got a Discord. If you go to their site, you go oncehuman.game. Check out all their information, their socials. Give them a follow. I'm just straight up. I can't wait. I can't say it enough. This is going to be something I'm going to be covering on Twitch. This is going to be something I'm going to be covering here on YouTube. If you're playing the game, let me know how you feel. If you've been watching videos on it, what's your feedback? And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.